Hello and welcome back to Richard Reviews. And before you get too excited, that name is just a placeholder I have at the moment. So, today we will be finally ending our journey through the fancy box. We've seen Russia take a stab at fancy epics, as well as an old Greek myth being combined with the teen horror genre. And today we dig into an 80s fancy cheese fest. So let's dive into a story of magic and knights. This is the Sword and Sorcerer. So we open to, you guessed it, another narration.
The world is changed. I feel it in the water. I feel it in the earth. I smell it in the air.
Oh, it might as well be that speech. Anyway, we follow the villain of the speech as he rows into the shores of Tomb Island. Oh, come on! They're not even trying to cover up that this is a dark and evil place. Turns out that this island houses a, prepare to be surprised, tomb. And they brought along a witch so that they can bring back the evil sorcerer Susha. Ha ha ha! The evil sorcerer Chihuahua Susha. So after having paraphrased Dr. Frankenstein, Susha rises from the tomato sauce of evil. Titus Cromwell, it turns out, wanted him brought back so that he could get help conquering a kingdom. The kingdom in question is Aden, the richest kingdom in the world, and Cromwell has attempted to invade 4 times, but has always been stopped by King Richard. Just something I was doing in my past life. Nothing special. To show his power, he kills the witch with his glowy nail polish. This is enough to convince Cromwell, and Susha makes some vague threats. We cut to Aden and we get some narration of how wonderful it is, so that we will feel sorry for it when it falls. We also get some narration so to make the villains look even more evil than they are. Cromwell tries to stab the sorcerer in the back while he still has the chance, but he gets away. Bet we won't see him for the rest of the movie. We see King Richard as his dying son reports the loss at the hands of Cromwell before dying. And King Richard takes this about as badly as I do having missed the bus. He tells his wife to get the younger children and run before he presents his son Talon with a 3-bladed sword. Nice. We get yet another narration.
Richard's armies met Cromwell's black hordes in a final, desperate battle.
This narrator is starting to get on my nerves. Show, don't tell! We see that the battle is lost. King Richard is executed and Talon rushes to save his mother. She's already caught in a trap and the son gets killed, and Cromwell offers to spare her daughter if she proclaims him king, and she pulls out a giant knife and stabs him in the lung. He survives with no scars or crippling injuries. I mean, it's just a lung. Who need those anyway? Talon comes to the rescue. Too late. He arrives just before his mom gets killed and he tries to avenge her. We also find out what the other blades are for, as they can be rocket propelled at the enemy. This fucking sword hurts my mind. This is a world of sword and sorcery, and this sword can shoot away its blades. How? Who made it? Why doesn't everyone have them? How does he get new blades to replace the old? And how does he aim that thing? They don't even say that a wizard did it. I'm sorry, but even for a fancy fan like me, it's a little hard to swallow without even a token explanation. Either way, he gets stuck to a tree but manages to get away and somehow escape the guards. Then we get a time skip and more bloody narration.
Cromwell's assassins found not a trace. Talon had simply vanished into the void.
They should have just called this Narration the Movie. We see him in his adulthood and we are told that he has become a legendary warrior. Of course he has. He's riding to Aden to get his revenge, but his loyal companions protest. They will have no character whatsoever in this movie. But he ignores them. In the background we see a spy sneaking away to deliver a message to a Susha who has recovered from a stab wound, and he catches us up to on what he has been up to these 8 years.
For 8 years, I have been submerged in the Black Sea to heal the wounds of Cromwell's treachery. After I slept, I conjured.
He makes his first Aden, and then the world speech. We then see a Cromwell who is contemplating deep thoughts. Like flaying kittens or drowning puppies. But he is interrupted by his untrustworthy servant. Comes free with every right to tyranny. We then see the servant in the war room, and we are introduced to him as Count Micheli. Get it? Because it sounds like Machiavelli, the man who wrote the now infamous The Prince. In reality, Machiavelli was a stalwart patriot of his country, a kind man who was often taken advantage of because of his kindness, and who wrote a book in which he combined his classical studies with his experiences with the rulers of that era into a work of literature that would come to popularize the political realism. Either way, Micheli delivers the information about the rebels, and we cut to the rebels who are hiding out in a bar, and we get introduced to Prince Micah, who will have no character whatsoever in this movie. Talon and company walks in, and the bartender immediately tells them all about the rebellion. If it's that easy to get information about them, worst rebels ever! We see Micheli meeting up with Micah, and apparently Micheli has had some contact with him before. We see them talk for a bit and then he leaves. Micah meets his sister Alana, who helps to set up that there are secret passageways and that Cromwell has the neighboring kings over for a visit. They get busted by Cromwell's guards. But they were so secretive about it! Cromwell wants to marry Alana and thus gain the legitimate rights to the throne, so as to gain the people's support, as she and Micah is the closest thing to the legitimate successors that are left. Remember, people think that Talon is dead. He captures Micah, but Alana escapes. She gets cornered by some guards who intend to rape her. I have to stop reviewing movies with rape in them. It can't be good for my health. But she resorts to what will be a running joke. She gets rescued by Talon and his corny one-liners. He takes her to a place where the patron doesn't spill vital secrets to everyone within earshot, and she asks if his sword is for sale. If you know what I mean. And it's not just me who sees it that way. Talon also thinks she wants to sleep with him.
Oh, but my sword is poised.
There are way too many sword jokes that could be made about this scene. Anyway, she offers 500 talons if he rescues her brother, but he has something else in mind.
All right. Anything you want. But only for one night.
Talon, buddy, you're a mercenary. You make your livelihood by selling your sword for money, not one-night stands. You could get the money and buy a hooker and supplies. Use your head, never mind. She also goads him into saving her troops from a cave for free. No, I'm not going to make a joke about it. It's just going to come out as an unintentional innuendo. Either way, it turns out that despite having a better patron, the guards find him anyway and take her away. Back with Talon, Cromwell's soldiers intend to burn out the resistance on the caves using oil and fire. However, Talon sneaks his way to the munitions cart and grabs oil, spilling it on the soldiers' feet and lighting it on fire, thus saving the resistance. They fill him in on the politics going on, and he tells them about his plan to save Micah. He reveals that he plans to go through the sewers, and we cut to Cromwell hitting on Alana, but he falls prey to a running joke.
With what?
This movie is one long penis joke. He's pissy about it and says that unless she marries him, he will kill her brother. He goes to the dungeon where he keeps and interrogates Micah about Susha, thinking that the sorcerer is behind the rebellion, but Micah thinks he's mad. Cromwell starts to develop character outside the stereotype he's been given, but it's quickly forgotten in his next scene. Back with the rebellion, they're wandering through the sewers, but they are attacked by a swarm of rats. Oh no, it's all the rats I killed in Baldur's Gate. They've come for me! The rats get 2 of them before Talon uses some oil to roast the rats. They manage to break into the castle and Talon goes in solo. The resistance manages to get caught, thus proving that Talon is the only competent character in this movie.
Stop, or your leader dies.
And considering the things he's willing to do just to get laid, that's saying a lot. He beats up some guards and steals a uniform before breaking into the prison and finds that the resistance is in a situation where they need rescuing again. This movie has to hold some kind of record for the most damsels in distress. They tell him that Cromwell intends to crucify them and Talon lets them out. Based on their competence, it's probably safer if they stay. One of the prisoners turns out to be Cromwell's former architect. Related by any chance? And of course he knows the castle's secrets. Meanwhile, Cromwell is informed of what has happened, and before storming off, he tells the guard to kill everyone in the torture chamber. That guard, however, turns out to be Talon, and he's here to rescue Micah. On their way out, the resistance nearly spring an ambush on them. I'm just surprised they didn't accidentally kill them.